Chapter 10. Sven couldn't remember how long it had been since he'd seen the sun. He walked out into the afternoon light and closed his eyes, stretching out his arms. The warmth breathed new life into his limbs, and the gentle breeze tickled his cheeks. Siren stared at him and rolled a coin across the back of her fingers. "You done?" she asked flatly. A scowl crossed Sven's face, and he dropped his arms, turning to face her. "What now?" "Now, we have a lot of work to do. Did you grow up in Malazar, or did you come here recently?" she asked. Sven frowned. "I've lived in and around Malazar my entire life." "That's the first thing you need to forget. You know too much about the ins and outs of the city. You know the names of shops, bars, brothels, and anything else," she said, motioning for him to follow her. "Your story is that you grew up in a small farm town, killed a mage, and took the gem. Try to think about any details that you need to learn. If I was you, I would try to make it close to your real life and make up a village. You don't want to run into someone who knows things about that place if you don't know them." "Why can't I just be from here?" Sven asked. She stopped and looked at him. "Are you from here? You know the laws about killing mages. Even if you told people that you came across the gem, they might execute you on principle." He nodded, thinking about several public executions he'd attended where the Necroluex killed a mage in the town square. "All mages have immediate status here in Malazar. You'll be given a stipend and a place to live, all coming from taxpayer money. However, it's not free money, despite what they tell you." "What do you mean?" Sven asked. "In the city, there are several factions that are all warring one with another." Sven furrowed his brow. He hadn't recalled any mage battles in more than a decade, and even before that, he could only think of two. They just didn't happen in Malazar. Each faction will try to recruit you for themselves or as a spy in another faction. That's what they do. It's all an elaborate game to them. A game that ends with another mage dead and a gem collected. "I don't follow. Why are they collecting gems?" Sven asked. "Think about what just happened to you. All around this city, there are dozens of similar cells built by different factions, all for one purpose: to swell the ranks of a particular faction and eventually join the Necroluex. So you've been recruiting me. Why? It's not as simple as it sounds. Finding someone who can use a gem is difficult. Not very many can actually use them, but the gems call to those who can use them, drawing them in to use them up." "You make the gems sound as if they're alive," Sven stated sourly. "They are sentient, but not necessarily how you would think," Siren said. "I think of them more as forces. They push and pull and behave according to their nature," she said, moving her hands about. "Think of them like the ocean. The ocean is not alive, but often seems to have a will of its own. The ocean doesn't kill people if they don't suit its purpose," Sven chimed in. "No, the ocean kills sailors on a whim. Some days it's calm and inviting, but sail out to sea and storms will dash the strongest ships to pieces." "Does this make the ocean evil?" she asked. "No, it just is, and it moves according to its nature." "Why do you think that I'll just do what you ask of me?" Sven asked. "Because very soon you're going to realize that we've given you a gift," she said, spinning a coin between her fingers. "You're still alive because we took you in and controlled your berserk phase. If left out here, you'd have started burning down whole city blocks before the Necroluex swooped in and crushed you like an ant." Sven shuddered, remembering the screams of little children as he burned them to ash, unable to control himself. "You people are sick," he spat. She turned and flicked the coin at him. It hit him in the face before clinking and rolling down the cobblestone street. "How many children would you have burned to death up here? How many wives, fathers, sisters?" she hissed. "What we did may have seemed monstrous, but we saved you from becoming a monster yourself." She looked over and saw a beggar reaching out to snatch up the coin. He recoiled when he saw that she was looking at him. She turned and began walking. Sven saw the man pick up the coin, and a deep red smile tore open in his neck. Blood poured down his clothes, and he died in a matter of seconds. "You just murdered that man. Why?" Sven asked. He saw her flipping another coin across her fingers. "If a man attacked you with a knife and you killed him, does that make you a murderer?" she asked. "No," Sven said, shaking his head. She nodded in agreement. "What if a man who you had no chance of beating threatened to kill you unless you killed an innocent man?" "Does that make you a murderer?" she asked, pausing as if hoping for an answer she already knew wouldn't come. "I honestly don't know," Sven said. "My gem demands blood, either mine or someone else's, and I'm still here," she said as she began walking. Sven felt uneasy and found himself crushing a small bit of charcoal between his fingers. He sniffed it up and quickly wiped the soot from his nose. "We can protect you, help you. There are things you don't know yet, and we can teach them to you. But most importantly, we know your identity, and that means that as long as you breathe, we own you," she said, smiling. Sven knew that they could turn him into the Necroluex. He didn't fancy being tortured by a questioner to get the truth out of him. No, she was right. He didn't have a choice, or at least not a good one. She pulled open the door to a decent-sized home and walked inside. Sven followed her, uneasy about going back inside. "This is your new home, courtesy of the Rubicon faction," she said as he walked into the house. It was lavishly decorated with fine furniture and expensive-looking trinkets. He walked over to an ornately carved oak table and picked up a bowl, emptying the fruit onto the table. He balled his fist and unleashed a burst of flames, burning the fruit to ash and scorching the tabletop. Siren said nothing and didn't move. Sven reached down and snuffed out the burning table and took a pinch of ash and snorted it. His eyes lidded and he breathed the aroma of burnt ash deeply. Siren just nodded in approval. "What do I do first?" he asked, purposely not looking at her. "There is a ball tomorrow night. We've already added you to the guest list. You need to make friends. Don't tell anyone that we've recruited you. Let them think that you are a free agent, but don't agree to anything, not yet." Sven nodded. "What rules apply to mages here? I mean, all I ever saw was mages doing whatever the hell they wanted." "You can't kill another mage. That is the only official rule. However, if you kill a merchant that pays dues to a faction, then they'll come for you. Mages disappear quite often here, so watch your back." "I thought you said that we can't kill each other," Sven asked. "You killed a mage and got away with it. What makes you think that others won't do the same if you give them reason?"